All right. All right. Good morning, everybody. It has been a morning. It's been a while since we had Martha on here because she's a busy lady. She's a very busy lady. And I'm not mad at her because of that, because me and Martha talked about a year and a half ago. We were wishing that we were busy. And look at us. We were sitting out saying, when the phone gonna ring? When this gonna happen? Now all of a sudden I think we got busy real about the same time. And just be building and building but anyway, we're good. I like everything that's going on. So I'll let you take it from there, Martha, and introduce your guest.
All right, now. Awesome. Well, it is a Monday. Happy Monday to you guys. And I just want to come on and say thank you for listening. First of all, thank you for listening. And Chonsten, I want to introduce you to the host. It would be, you know, good that I do that first. Introduce you to the host of WSAN Radio, Ronald Gordon. He is the voice to the voiceless. And Ron, I want to introduce you to Chonsten and just to introduce the audience to Chonsten. Chonsten is he's a dynamic speaker. He is a mentor, a coach who helps individuals, organizations, step into their true alignment with their purpose. And he is a purpose coach. And his message is built on the belief that fulfillment, productivity, and leadership all flow from alignment. You speak in my language. How can two walk unless they agree, right? And so I just want to introduce you guys to him. And Chonsten, thanks for coming on today. And I want you to, he was on my podcast as well. So I'm interviewing him here now. So Chonsten, tell us where you're from and how did you become a purpose coach?
Yeah. Well, first, thank you guys for having me. Me and Ronald were just jamming out to the music that he had on in the beginning. I was like, "Who is this?" He was like, "You don't know nothing about this?" I was like, "Nah, it's a little bit before my time." But I'm super excited to be here with you guys. I really, really appreciate the opportunity. To answer your question, this goes back to a couple years ago. I started out as a basketball coach. I was working with NBA guys such as Nikola Vucevic and Aaron Gordon, that plays for the Nuggets right now, just to name a couple. And then I truly felt this desire of there's more than just this. I don't know if you guys are basketball fans, but to be able to work with the people that you see on TV on a hand-to-hand basis to help them develop their skills on the court could be a dream job to some, right? But for me, I knew that it was more there. So I had the opportunity to work with youth. I was able to work with some high schoolers that end up going to college, like LSU and Florida Gators and things of that nature. But something told me to just step outside of that. It just wasn't fulfilling for me. I liked it. I love the fact that I was able to impact the youth and impact the individuals that were relying on me as their skill development coach to help their families or help live out a dream for themselves. But what I enjoyed the most out of that whole entire process was the conversations that we were getting into. And I realized that a conversation can transform someone's life if it's said in the right ways that they need to hear it, right? So fast forward about 2 or 3 years ago, about 3 years ago, I created this platform called the Luminary Panel, and it started out as a podcast, and it led me into coaching and all these things like that. But our tagline is we connect the aspiring entrepreneur to the inspiring entrepreneur story, and by becoming an immediate resource. So I don't know about you guys. For me, when I was younger, I always wanted to have the entrepreneurial dream, and I needed the resources, but I didn't have the immediate resources. So I became that for myself, for other people, right? So that kind of delved me into figuring out, okay, now how do I make money from this, right? That's the biggest thing because it started out as a podcast. Then from podcasting, we did in-person networking events, and then we did workshops that were like keynote speakers, and I bring in speakers, and then we'll have conversation not only just about business, but how life and business intertwine, right? Then I got into becoming a life coach just due to the demand that was coming from mentorship. Like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? But It wasn't more so about helping them find what they should be doing next. It was more so why did they want to do that thing so badly, right? So some of us think we want things until we get it, and it is not fulfilling in the way that we thought it would fulfill us. But it takes us getting to the root of why we want that thing or why we feel like that thing is happening for us to have a clear conscious and become more aligned to what we need in those moments.
Okay. I like how you mention alignment. So when you say alignment to the audience, I want them to be clear on definition.
Yeah.
What does that truly mean in, practical everyday life? What does that mean in practical everyday life? But how would someone know when they are out of alignment?
Oh, that's a great question. So for me, I realized that I was out of alignment when it felt like I was pulling teeth to get to something that was supposed to be good in the practical sense, right? So let me make this plain. So for example, let's say I have a goal to speak on stage one day, and although there are processes that may take a little bit longer for me to get to that stage, but in the process, if I'm doing things that deviate me from getting closer and closer to get on that stage, then I'm out of alignment. So, for example, if it's I plan to get on that stage, I need to be hanging out with speakers. I need to be hanging out with coaches. I need to be hanging out with resources that's going to help me get to that stage. I shouldn't be on the opposite side of going to a bowling alley. And maybe you can find somebody there, but I'm not hanging out with professional bowlers to get on a speaking stage. I'm not going to a freaking a chef to get to a speaking stage. I need to hang out with people that are already in the alignment of the goal that I want to reach. That's the first thing. And the second thing is you have to understand who you are as a person, right?
Mhm.
Understanding that deep desire of what God called you to do and who you are as a human being. At least for me, I believe in God. So I know God has instructed me and shown me visions and kind of confirmations and things of that nature. And if it deviates from what was told to me by Him, then I'm already out of alignment.
Right. And I like how you mentioned that because like who you hanging out with. Because sometimes we say, I want to do this, but that's our ideal self, right?
Mhm.
But the part of that there's our real self that's not acting in that order and
Right.
it's incongruent. And that's
Right.
kind of how you can gauge it, like you said. But what it's like you creating this false narrative, right? So
Yeah.
with that, what are the most common false beliefs that you see and that's keeping high performance individuals? Because these people, they are high performers, they just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Keeping them from their transformation. What are some of the false beliefs that you've seen in your practice that's keeping them stuck and
Yeah.
out of alignment?
That's a great question, and that's a question that's not asked enough. I believe from what I've seen in my experience is that a lot of people are in their own way, just due to them not being around the right people that can push them closer and closer to what they said they want to become. Right, I was watching. I don't know if you guys ever seen. I think it's the Sister Act or something like that.
Yeah.
With Whoopi Goldberg. I was watching that last
Yes.
night, and Lauren Hill is one of the actors or actress in the movie. Her
Mhm.
mother is telling her, "Hey, singing is not going to be something that wins you money. Like it's not going to bring you money. You got to stay in the books." So it came to the time where the school was able to go to all state uh,
Mhm.
competitions. And what happened was Lauryn Hill ended up forging her mother's signature because she felt in her gut to go. But if she was to listen to her mom, she probably wouldn't have been who she is today, right? In a
Right.
hypothetical sense. So there's two ways that we can look at this. The first thing is, are the people around you supporting who you want to become, or are they pushing you away from who you want to become? Okay.
Mm.
The second thing is, are you speaking life into yourself? Because your environment says a certain thing doesn't mean that you have to become that environment. It may be a little bit difficult, but the people you hang out with and the things that you do on a day-to-day basis is extremely important to you evolving to that person that you say you want to become. It has nothing to do with the amount of advice I can give you, right? It has nothing to do with the amount of things that I can get you. It's all about you transforming your mind first and then you acting or walking into that person as if it is today rather than it happening later on.
Wow. And that's so true. So you mentioned transformation. You know, it it often requires internal confrontation.
Yeah, that's
And
real.
what uncomfortable internal questions must someone be willing to ask themselves to experience that alignment?
That's such a good question. I don't know where are these questions coming from? Like these coming off the
You talking,
dome?
you giving me like
You're so good. Um, I think one of the most important questions to ask is, am I okay with sitting still?
Mm,
Because we equate busyness with productivity,
yes.
but your busyness doesn't equate to effectiveness or efficiency. So it goes back to that alignment thing, right? So if your busyness is not equal to the alignment or getting you closer to that goal, then your busyness is not as productive or efficient or effective as it should be. But being still and present allows you to make decisions more clearly, with clarity and understanding, and being able to see like this, that, to work out the logistics as a whole, to be able to be like, okay, this makes sense because I know that I'm going here, so this is going to be a stepping stone to get there, right? So the question is, am I okay with being still? Am I okay with being present? I think another question to ask is, who am I? Like being able to sit with yourself to ask that question. Most people say, "Oh, I am a business consultant," or "I am a life coach." No, that's what you do, but that's not who you are,
Amen.
right?
Yes.
So, those are two important questions to ask in the beginning, and then ask yourself why. Right? Why do I say that? Why do I want that? Why do I want that? And it allows you to get a little bit deeper and deeper into the soul level, going from, so there's 7 layers. I'm sure you guys read the book. Excuse me, 7 whys. The first 3 whys are in your head, and everything is logic. The next 3 goes to your heart, and the last one is a soul why. Right? Once you get to the soul levels where you start to define and identify what your purpose is like. So those are my 3 questions.
I like that because I like how you mentioned like the whys as well, because those are so true. You just keep saying why, and you keep going down, drilling down until you get to the root cause
Yeah.
of what's happening. Because it usually, I don't know if you experience this, but my clients, when we do the why analysis, they usually at the 5th one, they like, I'm done.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a real
I don't
thing.
want to do it anymore because it something internal is happening, right?
That's that
And
balance.
it's really getting to the root of why you're not meeting your goal. But you find people that are very, they try to be productive. They really are trying to trying to do the right thing. So productivity do flows from alignment as well. But also, like you said, they have to not do just busy work, but sometimes they don't know what to do, so they're doing something
Yeah.
to create something. So what would be the like sustainability productivity that they can do
Yeah.
versus hustle driven productivity? What's the what can they do versus that?
Resting.
Then
Rest.
what are they doing while they resting? I know they resting, but like
Yeah.
what are they looking for?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay.
This is why I say that.
Elaborate on that.
Yeah, I got you. So if so, here's the thing. In the Bible, it talks about after God created the earth, he took rest on the seventh day.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't that he wasn't doing anything. He was allowing his body, his brain, or whatever the case is, or showing us an example to allow ourself, our being, to be present. Because what happens is when we're all over the place, everything else becomes chaotic, right? So sometimes, have you ever lost your keys before, or felt like you lost your keys? You're in a
Yes.
rush, and because you're in a rush, you feel like you're going to be late. That's more important
Yes.
than you actually being present to find the keys. But then when you slow down, you see the keys is right there in front of you. You're like,
Right.
oh, it's been here the whole time, right? That's what happens in our everyday life. When we're all like, da, 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 everybody else feels that, and then everything else around you becomes chaotic. But
Mm.
when you're giving your time, at least giving yourself the time to just do the or do the opposite of your ordained routine, it gives your brain, your body, your soul, your spirit the time to reset, recalibrate, and then the next day you're able to execute at a high level. Why is that so important? It's important because if we're constantly like working and grinding and all this stuff, our brain doesn't allow us to have that capacity anyway, right? We can only but retain as much information as we can in a day, right? So for us to do 100 things, let's say we have 60 things to do on our to-do list. For us to do all 60 things and then have to do it again and again, that's what you call burnout,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how productive is burnout? Not very much, because then it takes you some time to reboot. But here's the thing: the reason why most people can't sit still or have be present is because they feel like they're losing when they're sitting.
That's true.
Does that make sense?
I've been. It make a lot of sense because I've been there. That's why
Yeah.
I've been there where I was all over the place. But and you're right, when I took some time to sit back and relax and rest, I was able to solidify what I needed to do
Yeah.
and move all the noise out the way.
Yeah. Because there's some that can thrive through the noise, but in reality, there's times where you got to kind of center within yourself. Because what'll happen is if you're so chaotic, you're willing to do whatever it takes for you to feel productive.
Yeah, there's this anxiousness.
Exactly. But how productive is anxiousness?
It's
Not
not
not at
productive at
all.
all because you lose creativity.
Exactly. So if you're able, if you're a creative being, right? God gave us the gift to
Mhm.
be creative. And if that is the case, and you're anxious and you're doing things out of fear and you're making decisions because you're chaotic, how good of the quality is the thing that you're trying to achieve? Not very much, right? So that means there's something that has to give, which is you being able to be like, sit within that uncomfortable feeling of not doing anything and being able to be like, okay, if I can muster through this,
Mhm.
everything else is going to be a breeze.
And it's funny because you keep going in areas where I have questions in my head because I think about when I think about business and growth,
Yeah.
there's always those seasons where you have to align with the season.
Yep.
And sometimes aligning with the season is very uncomfortable because growth is uncomfortable.
It is. Yeah.
And so how do you what internal battles that you find that people face when they outgrow their current environment?
Yeah. That's such a great question. Uh, so what I realize when people are, I like to call it a pivoting stage, right? Because if, for example, if Ron has a radio show, right?
Mhm.
And maybe there's certain seasons where more people are listening than others, right?
Mhm.
But if he were to change just due to the season, then he won't grow as much as he has because of his consistency, right?
Mhm.
So when seasons change, nothing changes. It's just you have to see it from a different perspective,
Oh, okay.
right?
All
So,
right.
all right, lean into this, okay? So, for coaches, all right, for myself, I'll speak for myself. The toughest season is what? Probably like around holidays, like
Yeah, the ebb and flows.
when gifts are being bought, when toys are being bought, food being bought, Halloween costumes are being bought. That's the hardest season for us because
You're
people are
right. You're
spending
right.
money
You
on
are
that,
absolutely correct.
right? So if I were to be like, okay, now I got to do a holiday special, which is cool, or maybe I have to do a Christmas special, which is cool. Maybe I need to do a Halloween special, which is cool. But if I'm changing with the ebbs and flow of the season, then am I really anchored into what I believe in? Because then that means that whatever comes to me, I wanted to take whatever, and it's not truly in alignment to who I am as a coach, as a person, as a value. Meaning,
Mm,
if I'm constantly changing with the season, then I'm really insecure. I'm not secure in who I am and my abilities to get there. Because now I'm associating my growth or my success or my ability based off of exterior.
that's a mic drop. No, seriously though, you're right.
Yeah.
So Ron, you have any questions before I continue to give
Yeah,
him all of these questions? Because he keep giving me stuff, so he
I
keep giving
he
me.
gave. I done changed my question 3 or 4 times listening. But my question is this:
Yeah.
many people feel stuck in survival mode.
Yeah.
What is the
Hmm,
first step towards moving them from survival into purpose?
Ooh,
that's a good one.
that's a great question and it's loaded. Okay. So when we're in survival, right? Think about I've been watching like these animal channel stuff. Like sometimes when I'm bored, I have nothing else to watch, so I watch the animals and I see the mannerisms and the habits of how these animals survive. So I was watching the lions, and there was a particular lion that had a bigger mane, and obviously he was the king of the jungle, right? He had to protect the people. But as soon as an intruder came in, he didn't hesitate to protect what was his, right? But it wasn't the fact that he knew he was the biggest, the strongest, the tallest, or the loudest. It's because he was more in to understand who he was as an animal. He was a king. He was the king of the jungle. He was the king of that environment, right? I say that to pull it right back to the question that Ron just asked. The sooner that we understand our identity and one, whoever you believe in as far as your religion, for me is God, and also you being able to do the work in yourself to understand that the exterior environment is not who you are, changes the game for you, right? So, for example, I'll go back to the radio example. If Ron were to start the radio, um, uh, whenever he started and only got 10 views for the first year and he were to quit, he's like, all right, I'm now got to scrape up to see what I could do next to make sure that this thing blows up, right? There's benefits in that, but in reality, he's went away from what caused him or his purpose on why he was doing it, to give the voiceless a voice. So
Mhm.
the only reason why he has this platform is not because of what he can gain from it, is
Right,
because of what he can do for other people.
right.
So let me bring this back. Being a survivor, meaning you're trying to protect yourself, which is selfish, right? When you're in purpose, you're serving other people. So is your mission statement, is your reason why you're doing whatever you're in or why you are doing the things that you're associated with, is that for yourself and what you can gain from that? Or are you willing to do the necessary things, to sacrifice the necessary things to make a greater impact? And that's how you know you're in your purpose.
Wow, you're right. That is well put.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's a great question.
Well
You
put.
guys are killing it.
And no, we asking all these questions because we like you. This is like when you talk about alignment, that's up my alley because I
Yeah,
man,
yeah,
that's like my passion.
yeah. So
But Ron, you have any other question before
Yeah.
I continue?
When you talk about alignment, I went to an analogy about basketball. You brought it up.
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying that, basketball, most sports athletes go through this thing that you got to be athlete to understand. They go through a zone, and when they're in that zone, they could turn around backwards and throw the ball up. It goes in the hoop. They just in that
Mhm.
zone, so they're
Yeah.
aligned with that. They know what they're doing. Everything's going along perfect for them. But
Yeah.
on the other hand, when we got people that's trying to get aligned with something,
Yeah.
I'm gonna say either you got it or you don't, or you're trying too hard to get it.
Yeah.
So how do people know when they are lined up? We already know when they're not lined up.
Yeah.
So when they are lined up, what is the procedure for them to keep things going where it
Yeah.
won't stop? Because sometimes, you get to that dead zone and you just stop, but how can you continue forward when you are aligned?
Yeah. That's such a great question. So I want to address a part of the question that you asked, and then it'll make sense for the answer to the entire question. So you said like some people don't understand when they're searching for the alignment, they're doing whatever they can to be aligned. But then you have the other people that are in alignment and things are going well. And then you're saying they're how do you continue to keep in alignment, correct?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So to stay in alignment means that you're not wavering because of something or someone else's opinion of what you're doing, right? Or actions that you're taking, or people that you hang out with, or the people that you have to lose or disconnect from, right? So being in alignment is actually harder than most people think, but also simple as it may seem. Staying in alignment means if you said basketball, so we use basketball. If I'm a basketball player and I realize that I'm really good and I got a chance to be drafted by the Orlando Magic because I'm in Orlando, right? And I just so happen I get this gut feeling like maybe Orlando is not my place. Let me go try out for the 76ers or Chicago Bulls since you're in Chicago. And because of my gut feeling, I understand that Orlando may not be my thing. I go travel to Chicago and I say, hey, I want to go try out with you guys. Can I at least have a rock? Right? And long story short, let's say I fast forward, I make the team for Chicago and Orlando, they end up getting into a Ponzi scheme or something like that, right? And then they're like, oh, we gotta end the team because something happened. The alignment comes from your connection with your source because the alignment comes from you being guided in the right directions to keep you in float. That zone you talked about is called flow state, right? When you're in flow, meaning everything becomes effortless, right? So for your radio, I know it's like, all right, I know this button turns on the music. I know this turns on the music. I turn the vibe on. Now we have a flow of the structure of the conversation, right? If it was, let's say, if you were to be uh you turn on the music and then you end up making a mistake to turn on the camera, but now you're out of flow because that's not in your rhythm, right?
Mhm.
So I'm gonna bring this full circle. I know that now I've been all over the place. So what I'm saying is first, make sure that your connection with your source is so crystal clear that you understand when you're being pulled and you're being pushed elsewhere. The second thing is making sure that you have your own rhythm because your rhythm dictates the outcome of what you're looking for. So if you have a rhythm, it's a flow. So if you have a routine for the day, all right, when I wake up, I'm going to work out. After I work out, I eat breakfast. After the breakfast, then this, then this, and this, and this. Here's the problem though. People think because they're in alignment and because there's a flow doesn't mean that there's room for pivot. That's why it's important to be present as you're doing these routines. Because if you're present, now when these things happen, you understand how to maneuver from it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So to bring this full circle again, first get connected fully with your source. Second, create a rhythm that works for you and stay in that rhythm. Leave room for pivoting and maneuvering.
That I like the last part you said, pivot, because there are
Yes.
people out there that will not pivot for anything. They stay with what they have because it worked for them in the past. Should work right now, but sometimes in order to grow, you're gonna have to pivot.
That's so good. Yep.
That was good.
Yeah.
So I want to move into like fear, because a lot of times fear keeps people from their purpose, and fear often disguises itself as logic in their life.
Mm.
You know,
Oh, that's so good. Yeah.
it really does. And so, what fears that you see most commonly
Yeah.
that will keep a person from stepping into alignment or their purpose?
Yeah. Feel the fear of discomfort, the fear of failure. Those are the main two things. The other
Mhm.
stuff is like it's like subtitles to these two things. Fear of discomfort and fear of failure, right? So to be honest, um, if we were afraid of failure, then we won't. We're embracing comfort. We're embracing comfort too closely. That's just how we are now. Think about it. Everything around us is just meant for us to be comfortable. We got Uber Eats. Now we ain't got to leave the house to go get food. We got a cell phone. Now we ain't got to go meet up with people because we can just call them. Think about we got taxis. Now we ain't got to drive or a Uber, actual Uber. We don't got to drive. Now we got people driving us around. Like everything is meant for us to be comfortable. But
Mm,
have anybody deliberately looked at the highest performers in the world? What do? They embrace risk. They embrace pivot. They embrace failure because failure isn't really a failure unless you just don't do it or at least try
right.
or
That's
attempt,
true.
right? Failure is just this predetermined mental condition that is like, all right, if because we were taught that in school. All right, you take this test, you get an A if you pass it, you fail, I guess you got to do it again, or you're not good enough, or you're not this, or you're not that. So what does that do in our subconscious? It tells us if I fail, oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. Oh my gosh, I'm not equipped enough. Maybe I'm not seen or loved or appreciated or embraced because I didn't get this thing right, right? But if we take this thing up a notch and let's switch the perspective, because that's what I like to do. In my coaching style, I say I like to make it their idea for them to change, right?
Right.
So I would ask, okay, you're afraid of discomfort and you're afraid of failure. What would happen if you did fail? What would be the worst thing that happened? Maybe it'd be like, oh, I don't know. I just don't like that feeling. Okay, that's cool. But in reality, the emotion that you're stuck in right this second is causing you not to perform at a high level. And guess what? The people that are depending on you to perform at that high level are being moved to the side just because you said you're afraid. So how fair is that? It's not fair at all. Right? So now we start to kind of digest this, and then we get to a point of like, all right, let's get to the root of this. Where did this come from? Well, I was uh I was in school and my teacher said I'll never beat it, da, 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 as an example. But again, when it comes to failure, we just have to uproot what that truly means to us individually. Because failure in reality is not real, at least in my opinion.
I
It's
agree
just
with you on that.
Yeah.
right. I don't think failure is a real thing. It's either you try it or you don't. And because of that motion that you feels keep you stagnant, then that motion actually wins more than you actually trying.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that because that is so true. It's all, a lot of times it's in we just ruminating over something that's not even really factual, right?
Yeah.
And let's talk about purpose versus passion because that's so it's sometimes purpose, you know, um is, do you think it's something that we discover, or do you think that it's something that we develop?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think that's a purpose. Um, Purpose is something that's already in you, right? Again, I always reference God in this. In Jeremiah 29:11, I knew the plans for you before I knew you, or however it's supposed to be said. But in reality, it says, I have the plans for you, meaning that you are born with a direction to go. You have a inkling of a gift that's going to help you expand whatever I call you to do, right? So I say that to say, I like to say I help people rediscover the purpose because throughout our life, every situation that we go through is either showing us more about ourselves or trying to push us away from ourselves. But in the middle of it is still ourself, our true self, our authenticity, right? But how many people do you guys know, and maybe you guys can help me understand this, how many people do you guys know that don't fully operate in their full authenticity?
Quite a few.
Yeah.
I mean, especially in my practice, I see a lot of that because they're they say one thing and they actions say another, and they're incongruent, and
Yeah,
so the authenticity is lost in that. But they're not intentionally doing it.
yeah,
It's just the way they see themselves versus what's really happening.
right, exactly. So think about this. As you guys know, when we're young, scenarios happen to us that cause us to like either build upon that experience or take us away from the experience, right? So what do I mean by that? I mean, think about a little kid and you say, "Hey, you're the best kid ever, and you will be whatever you want to be," and you start to feed them with those type of things, and you put them in environments where they feel that, and then as they get to like 4 or 5, they're like, "My daddy said I'm the best. My mommy said I'm the best," right? So think about that scenario for the individuals that we know now, right? They're still stuck in the words spoken over them or the situation that they've had to go through, which is again valid that they had to go through that. But also, it's like some people would rather live in victim mindset rather than trying to figure out how to be a victor from that situation. Does that make sense? So like, it's tough to uh, help people understand what their purpose is if they don't discover that they were already made to be great,
Right. And you're
right?
right about the victim mentality because it keeps you
Hmm.
blaming other people and not taking a look at
Accountability.
Exactly.
yourself, which you really need to look at yourself because there's so much value in it.
Exactly. So if that's the case, then why do we feel like there's so many people that aren't operating in their full authenticity just due to them being victims mentally against themselves, right? So then there's a part of us that's like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you until you really discover that your authenticity is your superpower, right? I think if more people uh, lived in their authenticity and understood their own truth, not in the way of like uh, politician way, I'm talking about them individually and not just based off of what's programmed to them or trying to be associated because it makes them be a part of something. I think if people lived in their authenticity, they'll find their purpose a lot sooner because now they're not faking it to make it, right? If I were to be like, all right, I'm a dance instructor, and you'd be like, all right, tell me the 2 step. I'm like, because I'm not a dance instructor,
Right.
right? That's not authentic to who I am. That's not. But if somebody in the inverse saying, all right, you say that you're a life coach, then tell me how to be a life, like, tell me about my life. You'll be able to snap into it because that's who you are. That's your
Right.
authentic version, right? If I ask Ron, how do I start a radio show? He'll give me the blueprint, pop, pop, pop. But if I ask him, how do I play hockey? Maybe he did play hockey. You play hockey, Ron?
Um, dabbled.
Dabbled in the hockey? That's
Yeah.
hilarious. But if I said turn me to a hockey pro, he gonna be like, I don't know what to do with you, brother. because that's not his authentic thing,
Right,
right?
right.
So to
I
answer your
get
question,
exactly what you're saying.
yeah, to answer your question, I believe we need to become more authentic to who we are, and it goes back to like being in alignment and connected to the things that we love. And passion is actually important. Passion is that thing that drives you, but it's not the reason why you're up. Does that make sense? Like I'm
A
passionate
lot of
about
sense. Yes, passion. You're right. You're right. It drives you. You're right.
exactly. So passion is actually an emotion, which can be up and down,
Yes.
right? Purpose is something that's more so like solidified or stone, like a stone, like it's
Yeah, it's
firm
solid.
in the foundation. Exactly, right? Passion is something that just allows you to have the gasoline to keep going, right? So there is an integration between purpose and passion. But if your passion outweighs your purpose, or your purpose outweighs your passion, then there's disconnection. Does that make sense?
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, you're
Yes.
welcome.
You are, I have another question.
Okay, I'm ready.
No, what's the biggest, really seriously, purpose is so deep but what do you find the biggest myths about people that what they believe about finding a purpose? Because there's so many different people coming up with so many ways. What are
Oh,
the biggest myths that
yeah,
that you find in that?
that is easier than most people think. Like people think that purpose is so extrinsic, right? People think that if I go to a spiritual healer, they'll help me find my purpose. Or if I go take ayahuasca, a drug that I guess the Middle Eastern or whatever they take, and they go into this forest and they start hugging trees, and then they get this epiphany, like, oh, this is like it's not. You don't need to do all of that. What you do need to do is get extremely honest about who you are. Like, be okay with sitting and listening, because your brain is going to chatter. It's going to tell you the answers that you're looking for, and then your gut is going to tell you like, maybe I should go this way. Maybe I should go this way. Maybe I should go this way. And honoring that gut feeling is extremely important. It's very important. Most people don't like it because they don't know how to uh, distinguish the heart, which is the emotion, versus the gut. That's like the intuition. Two different things. Intuition and heart are completely two. Intuition will tell you an answer before you even ask the question. Your emotions will make you go based off of it just because it feels good. But think about working out. We don't just go work out because it feels good to go work out, because it's a necessity. For us to be healthy, to live long lives, we need to go work out, even when we don't want to, even when we don't
Absolutely.
feel like it, right? It's the same thing when we're doing the inner work. Even though sometimes it doesn't feel right to do, we need to do it, because there's other people that we're going to get into contact with. And if we're not clear with who we are, it's easy to pick up on their traits. It's easy to become like them. It's easy to talk like them and move like them. And you don't even know their intentions on why they do the things that they do. So now that disconnects you from what you're supposed to do, and it takes you further and further away from what uh, I believe God is trying to take you in a sense of your calling, right? So it's not as hard as people think. It's about sitting, listening, and writing. Allow your brain to just flow, right? And there's certain things that I take my audience or my clients through. Excuse me. I give them a little blueprint that may work, but again, everybody's different. Like everybody think that this purpose thing is just like cookie cutter. No, that's not a real thing. Like there's certain things that could be, structured, but everything else is something that is, learned, but also it's just rediscovery, you know?
I like that. So what's the cost of ignoring your purpose, and what begins to deteriorate on the inside when someone suppresses the calling?
Yeah. Whew. All right. If I'm being plain and very, very blunt, the reason why a lot of people are suicidal is because they suppress the calling. It becomes too much. There's a pressure that is too strong for them to bear anymore. The reason why people are their identity has changed is because they didn't know their identity in the beginning. So what the cost is, sometimes their life, sometimes their identity, sometimes the people that they're around them. But in reality, what we could gain if we were to tap into that calling is the things that our heart desire. Because these things will be added unto you as you continue to pursue what you're called to do. Sometimes it don't make sense. I said, I started a podcast and I thought, how am I going to make this? And I got that question all the time from everybody. Like, how you going to make money? How you going to make this? Da, 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 da. I'm like, I don't know. But I feel called to do it. And because I feel called to do it, everything else was added unto me. From that, I was able to start a networking event, monetize that. Being able to go to workshops, monetize that. Able to travel the country to speak, monetize that. Able to do a coaching agency, monetize that. But it started from me saying yes to the calling that I felt to do. Not for me trying to make money first and then make that happen. And I feel like I need to say this. It's okay to do it messy. Do it. I'd rather you do it messy than you not doing it at all. Because,
Amen.
Because as you're doing it messy, you'll start to learn what fixes the mess.
Yes.
But what's important is you understand why you're doing it. That's it.
I love it. I love it. So that means you know the answer to this question because you do it every day. What does it feel like to wake up every day and walk in your purpose?
I ain't gonna lie, sometimes it's hard. It is difficult. You know why? Because when you're walking in your purpose, it's a lot required of you. A lot of sacrifice, a lot of surrender, a lot of pressure. There's times where I'm like, why am I doing this? There's times where I'm like, am I supposed to be doing this? There's times where I'm like, maybe I could just give it up. But then I'm reminded on why I'm doing it. It's because there's people that need to hear something I may have to say, one, or they need the inspiration or the guidance or the immediate resource that can help them see themselves as what they know they can be. That's what I do it for. Now, if it was like, well, I'm doing this to get super rich, I'm doing this to get my car, I'm doing this to get my house, those things come and go. But the souls of people, the hearts of people, the conscience of people is why I do it for. Right? So to walk in your purpose is very costly. I love the word that you use, costly. Very costly, but it's also greatly rewarding.
Yes. And it's a difference between operating out of scarcity versus abundance. Because when you operate out of scarcity, you are like, I got to pay my bills, so I got to get this. But when you're doing it out the heart, like we do, we love what we do. And I love how you made it, you normalized it, because it's not, some days you do wake up and don't feel like it.
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing a podcast today. I don't feel like talking to nobody. But
that's a real thing.
But what makes me show up is I pray and ask God to give me the strength because I'm in my head. And I also ask God to help me focus because I'm in my head. And those are the days that I'm so happy I showed up.
Yeah. Because you pushed through it.
Yeah. Can I got two things going through my mind right now. The question that Martha just asked. Sometimes you set your expectations up high and your standards high. And once you do that, you got to live by that. You can't go below that because now you're questioning yourself. should I go down here or should I stay up here? You don't matter if you're high or low. But what you just said is some mornings I wake up and I say, oh, Lord, I got to get them to do this radio show. I don't feel like it. But I already set my standards.
Yeah, that's so good.
So when that happens, I just say, like you said, why am I doing it? Then when I get it, I think about, well, community needs me. You know, that's something I want to do. But I do have days that I say, oh, man, should I press this mic button or don't say anything? But, you know, because we set our own self up. We can set us up for failure or set ourselves up to rejoice and keep on going. That's something that we battle every day. At least I do sometimes when I see some things going on and I say, man, should I jump in and do this or should I just sit back and just watch?
Yeah, that's so good.
So
I'm going to add this. Sorry, do you have another question?
No, that was just my opinion about what's going on.
No, that's perfect. But I want to add this too, because I think this will bless all of us, is that especially when you're operating in alignment and in purpose, and things start to happen against you and it feels like that, that is the indication that you're called and you're in the right place. Like when things are the opposition of you. So let's say, hypothetically speaking, right? I remember, I think it was me and you, Martha, when we first got in our conversation, either the audio wasn't working, the video, something wasn't working, and then we had the best conversation we ever had because we were supposed to have that conversation, right? So I say that to say there's scenarios, and if we have the internal discernment to understand when things are happening for us or against us, that's extremely important. Why? Because when you're in alignment, you understand that it's a linear, but there's gaps that may, again, go back to pivoting, right? But when it comes down to what you just said, Ron, about the standard is costly. For you to live a high standard life, that means you have to set this B word that nobody likes to do nowadays and is becoming popular, boundaries. You gotta have boundaries. If you don't have boundaries, you're gonna fall for everything. And that's something I should have added earlier. That if your boundaries is actually what helps you become more in alignment.
Yes.
You saying no is the strongest word that you can ever say.
You can become your best friend.
Yeah,
that's it.
You beat me to the punch on that because somebody told me a long time ago, Ron, you got to learn how to say no. Well, I learned it, and I do it faithfully. No, no, no.
But think about how many people are afraid of rejection so much that if they say no, they're gonna get in trouble. Mm-hmm. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah, it is.
But you got to go through the pain of it to understand, because I remember I used to, yes, but it cost me so much.
Cost you so much.
Of self-abandonment. Yeah. And so I had to learn, matter of fact, I got to say no to myself sometimes. Yeah. because number one, I need boundaries with myself.
That's so good. Let's talk about that. Yeah.
I cannot give boundaries to someone else if I can't control this.
Yep.
And so I had to learn, you gotta have boundaries with you. Like working out. I have boundaries around eating, time. I can adjust my time to go work out, but I gotta work out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I gotta work out. And so I can't put too much in my day where it stops me. I have goals. Mm-hmm. Boundaries. I really gotta make boundaries with myself because I got a kick in the spirit. I want to kick it.
Yeah.
So I say no. You gotta have boundaries with yourself. But that's so key. You're right. You have to set boundaries.
We got somebody just they're chiming in left and right over here, y'all.
I love it.
The one right here, somebody just supposed to say, the cost of suppressing your purpose is depression.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Yep. That's good. Yeah. That's good right there.
It's power. Yeah, it is. It is. You're dying inside,
Yeah. And you're deliberately uh, you're deliberately saying no to yourself and saying yes to everything else that may not work for you.
Mm.
Mhm.
And like because you feel like uh I say like this, just from like a spiritual aspect, like God called me to be a preacher, right? And me doing something outside of that is like, all right, it's working for now, but then that gut feeling starts to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and we call that conviction. Now,
Yes.
when you're not discerning, when you're in conviction and you don't know that you're in conviction, they can disguise that or see that as depression. Because as y'all know, conviction is chastening.
Yes.
It's putting you back into alignment, but you have to understand that that is what that is. You like got to get clear with that, or at least with yourself. And for people that may not believe in that, if you understand that you're in the wrong place, then you got to honor that feeling and go the opposite way.
Mm.
Absolutely.
That's it. See, it's not. It's only difficult to do these things because we're constantly trying to do it our way. We always want to be in control.
Hmm.
That's it.
Yeah.
But sitting still, meditating, praying, sitting, and just allowing yourself to just be present gives you the answers that you're looking for so desperately.
Man, that's powerful. It's you
Yeah,
so
Sure
right.
is.
I journal. I journal a lot when I sit with myself
yeah,
because I
and
get
you
so
get
many things that come to me. I have to write it down.
yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. So some people write and journal, some people sing, some people record content, some people um, maybe go for a walk or jog. But whatever that space is for you to sit still, and I'm not saying just sitting here like this, doing something completely opposite of what you do for your job or your work or what you're trying to strive for. Because your brain is like always going to constantly be like, tut, 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 oh, maybe I could do this, do this, do this, do this. But you consciously have to turn that off. Like it's okay when those thoughts come. Excuse me. When those thoughts come, okay, honor it, acknowledge it, turn it off. That's how we go crazy, people. That's how we burn out.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I'm telling you,
We could talk for hours
we could.
on this subject.
You
This
can
Yeah.
was so
shit.
good. This was so
The hour
good,
flew
right?
by.
That's
Jeez.
why.
Yeah, I'm looking up at Martha and pull of Joseph. She know what I'm talking about there when I
I
say
know.
it.
I know.
But
That's
you
why I was
know,
like, uh-oh, because I could turn it up.
cause everything is flowing. I mean, everything's just coming out, and people need to hear this
Yeah.
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
how many times that you could tell somebody something, and they look at you like you don't know what you're talking about. But somebody like this young man come around and say exact same thing. Oh yeah, you look at him and say, I just told you that two
Yeah.
weeks ago. And so now you sitting back saying, is it me or what? But then it's how you deliver it.
That's
That's
so
the
good.
important part. Is how you were you being condescending when you told them,
Yeah.
or were you being real? You know,
Yeah.
because if you be condescending, nobody's gonna listen to you.
Yeah.
Martha could tell somebody the same thing I told them. They'll believe Martha before they believe me.
Yeah. But here also I want to give you two the props is that it's not us or the person trying to tell somebody else. Is that person ready to receive what you have to say?
Absolutely.
That point.
That's so important.
Right? It's like me talking to a wall, and if I'm looking for a response, the wall ain't gonna speak to me because it ain't meant to speak. Right?
Right.
But if I'm talking to a human being and they tell me I'm going through this, you can ask them this, hey, are you ready to receive or did you just want me to listen?
And that's so important
Mm-hmm.
Right?
because that's change, because change happens when they're ready.
When they
Yeah.
ready. Gotta make it their idea. That's my motto.
Mm.
But Chonsten, once again, you one amazing interview because your heart is in it. You love what you do. You're good at helping people find purpose. Tell the audience how they can reach you.
Yeah. So they can find me on TikTok, Chonsten Jennings. I'm all over the place on Google as well. So if you Google Chonsten Jennings, it should pop up all my stuff. But God has transitioned me to doing like ministry based stuff. So I started this new platform called The Cost of the Alabaster. That's what the jacket is. And pretty much it talks about Mary that broke the alabaster oil off of Jesus' feet. And God has wrecked me in a short amount of time. And he called me to do this. So that's what I've been doing thus far, like biblical scriptures. And we talk about the lifestyle and the story of when you say yes, and we have those boundaries. For example, Abraham said yes, and he had to go through a multitude of things, and then he got Isaac. But it's really just to show the characteristics of God. And it's been so cool and a blessing to go through that. So you can find me on those things.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Look
Thank
at
you
that.
so much. Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. I think you guys did a fantastic job. I did a few of these last year, and this is my first one this year. I've been kind of stepping back from that, but this is the platforms like this is like a lost art where people could just come on, be themselves, talk their truth, and you guys leaving that space for them to be that and not just try to manufacture this because you have this, to your point earlier, standards. But the real standard is you operating or allowing me to operate in my authenticity. And now you get this flow and this synergy and this vibe that just exudes greatness, right? So I commend you guys. Anything that I could do, I would love to be a support to you guys. And I look forward to seeing you guys or working with you guys soon.
Well, thank you. And I just love what you're doing and love how you, show up when you come to these things. And with the level of authenticity and love and passion that you have, you could tell you were actually rebuilding something. I don't know. I could just tell when coaches get into that mode of like pivoting.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
Because I'm connected to a lot of coaches, and I can kind of tell. It's usually when I'm like, they seem like they into something deep. And then I talk to them, and then I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
You can tell because there's a quietness to it.
Yeah.
And so I find that. So, but I do thank you so much for coming on today. And Brian, thank you for having, this platform.
No problem.
And I'll connect you too so that you can take off from there.
Yeah. Me and him need to talk. We already, before you came on, we need to talk.
I'm the one that was trying to find my way in.
That's all right. That's right. Patience.
You came right on time.
Yeah, you did. All right, appreciate everybody coming on, Martha. Like always, you bring some great guests on, and this brother, me and him, going to be doing some talking. So look at us doing something. I already feel something going on that's going to happen. It's just getting things together.
That's it. Let's make it happen. I'm excited.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Everybody, take care.
Recordings.
All right, everybody. That was Martha Rice and Mr. Jennings and myself. We appreciate everybody tuning in today. And we'll catch everybody at noon. We got another guest coming on at noon.